Welcome back. New overnight, the U.S. and Iran exchanging fresh fire once again last night, just hours after President Trump said that the ceasefire is over. The U.S. striking more than 90 targets in Iran, including missile and drone sites, bridges used to transport weapons. CENTCOM saying this is all to, quote, further degrade Iran's ability to attack commercial shipping and innocent civilians in the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran fired back at U.S. bases in Kuwait and Bahrain in response. President Trump says Iran is still desperate to make a deal and even called him last night. The Iranians did, but the president's patience with the regime is wearing thin. Watch.
Why are you apparently unable to end the Iran war?
So I think we're doing just the opposite. The Iran war has been a tremendous military success. And, you know, I can only answer the question by saying they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. Since I got to know them, and I'm not sure I want to make a deal with them. We can play games, but I'm not sure I want to make a deal. I just finished the job. No, I don't think it's going to start again. I think it's going to go very quickly. They hit a couple of ships, and so we hit them much harder. I think anything that happens is going to be over very quickly, and we'll only make it safer, including for oil.
Joining me now is former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland. KT, great to see you this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Assess this war for us right now. We are back at it. The president says he'd rather finish the job than do a deal with the Iranians at this point.
You know, this is not going as anybody expected. No war ever does. We've had some good things that have happened. For example, we now have really strong military alliances with the Gulf Arab countries. Another great thing that's happened is the United States crude oil exports are up 30%. Because countries are now buying from America instead of buying from Iran and other countries in the Middle East. The things that haven't gone so well are the intransigence, really, of the IRGC. They don't want to deal with anybody under any circumstances ever. And it seems that they have the ability to take Kharg Island. They own Kharg Island. They have the ability to close the Strait of Hormuz, or at least a narrow lane of the Strait of Hormuz. So where are we now? What's up in the air? I think the United States is going to hit them hard. And keep hitting them economically, financially, and in their banking system, as well as militarily, until somehow the leadership, whatever that leadership might be, hopefully it's the civilian leadership, cuts the deal and keeps the deal. If not, the United States will keep the strait open in our own way.
Well, the president made lots of news-making comments over the last few days in NATO. What is your assessment of the president's trip to Turkey this week?
I thought it was more successful than I thought it would be. First of all the NATO allies except Spain have agreed to increase their defense spending. But to me, the really interesting one was the meetings that President Trump was having with the Ukrainians, with Zelensky. So we now have a military production arrangement with Ukraine, where they're going to make some Patriot missiles. They're going to help us with drone technology. That was kind of unexpected. So that's going to be a boon. It's going to be great for Ukraine. It's going to be great for the American military. It's going to help us with the areas that were squeezed in the military production area. So that was good. And then the thing that I was a little more surprised at was when the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said, look, we are helping you. We are behind you in the Iran war. While a lot of those individual countries, you know, Britain, France, Germany, et cetera, have all said, no, the Iran war, it's all America's fault. It's all about Israel. America's losing this war. When, in fact, the NATO Secretary General said, we're with you. We think it's great. Keep going.
Yeah. It's true. The president also said that he will remove Syria from the state sponsor of terrorism list for the first time since 1979. The president met with the president of Syria in Turkey, saying that he's done a fantastic job and unified the country. KT, your reaction to that?
This is huge. You know, President Trump took a bet. He took a risk on the new leader of Syria, a guy who had a checkered past, shall we say. But the Saudis convinced President Trump, take a risk on this guy. He's going to be good for it. He's going to be on our side of the game. And so the new president of Syria he's working with the United States, with the Gulf Arab allies. He's crushing the terrorism and the terrorist cells that were in his country. And so all of a sudden Syria, which was a country that's bedeviled everybody for decades, is now working with us. I mean, this is the big takeaway of the Iran war, Maria. It's not just the nuclear part. It's not just the Strait. It's that the United States has rearranged the chessboard in the Middle East. The Gulf Arab countries and Israel and the United States and countries like Syria and potentially Lebanon are now working with us, at peace with each other, and trying to deal with and enclose and somehow mitigate the danger that Iran poses to the region.
Yeah,
that's a big change.
It is a big change, and I also saw a big change in his policy toward Ukraine as well in those conversations. I'm with Tiana Lodesha today. Tiana, jump in.
Yeah, so Trump authorizing both, he's trying to outsource more defense to Ukraine, their own manufacturing, but also this idea of taking, of authorizing F-35 transfers to Turkey. My understanding is that the president doesn't have the power to do that unilaterally, that Congress can still block this. And also, while the rest of those Gulf allies were trying to help out with our Iran offensive, Turkey was more or less obstructing it. Yet Trump seems very friendly with Erdogan there.
You know, I was in the first conversation he had with Erdogan in the first term, and although it was done over the phone and in translation, President Trump was taken aback by it, and he said, I'm listening to the tenor of this guy's voice. He is one mean, tough guy. That's a mean, tough neighborhood. Maybe that's a guy we can work with. And so every time the president has asked Erdogan for something, Erdogan has delivered. Erdogan could have taken a much bigger role in the Iran war against us. He didn't. He could have gone in inside of Iran. He didn't. He's an important ally in the sense that he bridges between Europe and the Middle East, East and West. He's a Muslim leader in a Muslim country, the only Muslim country in NATO. And so I think Trump has found a way, strong guy to tough guy, to work with him. And I will point out that Turkey was the first country that signed on to the Gaza peace plan. We never thought that would happen.
Yeah.
And if there is a peace deal with Iran, Turkey's got to be a central part of it.
Yeah. Dan Geltrude, jump in.
So, KT, when we talk about why we were there in Iran in the first place, it was all about to make sure that Iran wasn't going to have a nuclear weapon. I think we've achieved that to this point. So what do you think it means right now for us to finish the job? Where do we go from here?
They still have an ability to do ballistic missiles, right?
Yeah, and they've shown that they've got some hidden. We probably took out 75% of their ballistic missile capability, manufacturing capability, and arsenals. That's what we were hitting in the last 2 days, is the remaining part of that. You know, the way they would use missiles is that they could threaten any country, including our country in the region, with a missile barrage if we tried to stop their nuclear program. So you've got to get rid of both. You've got to get rid of the nukes. We've done that. And you have to make sure they don't rebuild that missile barrage so that they could then, as a secondary step, rebuild the nukes. We've got that. So why are we there? We've achieved our major objectives. We're there to make sure that the Strait of Hormuz is not used as a nuclear weapon in the sense of holding the world hostage. And that's the final part of the picture.
I mean, we also have to ensure that they're not lying about what capability they have, right? I know that they've been obliterated thanks to the amazing U.S. military. However, we thought, you know, they told us they didn't have long-range missiles, and then they sent a long-range missile into Diego Garcia. So are we believing them about what they have and their capability?
No, you never trust them.
Yeah.
You never trust them. That's why you need those Gulf Arab allies to help you verify that they're not cheating, and that's why you need the Armada there, so when they do cheat, you can punish them.
Yeah. KT, thank you. Good to see you this morning. KT McFarland.
Thank you.
Stay with us.